Today, in the form of a tier list, we're going to be breaking down the UFC's most well-rounded and I guess least well-rounded fighters that the UFC has to offer. We're going to be covering a few fighters, a few champions from different divisions here, flyweight through heavyweight. This video kind of explains itself, but yeah, I kind of added a shit ton of fighters here on accident. I have like 30 to 40, so for some of them, I'm going to be giving kind of deeper explanations than the others, just I guess for the sake of time and sanity. So breaking down the tiers here real quick. So the S tier, basically, man, I want to keep this kind of coveted, kind of sacred, the elite of the elite. If you're entering the S tier, you're the avatar. You're the master of all elements. You know what I mean? If you're in the A tier, pretty much you could do everything good. You could do everything well. You mix it up really well. You're kind of skilled all around. You're almost as well-rounded as it gets. But there are probably a bit more open holes in your game than who I'm going to kind of save up for S tier. You know what I mean? But A is very elite. If you're going to be in the B tier, you can do everything pretty solid, but there's kind of one main path to victory you have. And then if you're in the C tier, womp, womp, womp type shit, you could do everything, but you're just not great at anything. You know, you can kind of do striking, ground game, blah, blah, blah. Everything's solid, but nothing's really fantastic or great or really stands out. Now, if you're in the D tier, this is kind of when we start to move down towards the one-dimensional kind of things, side of things. You kind of have one main specific path to victory. Like, if you're not playing that one path, odds are that you're most likely going to lose. And then, obviously, F tier, you're pretty much just one-dimensional. Like, you have a clear one path to win in here, and that's kind of it. Bada bing, bada fucking boom. So, I guess just starting off here with Sean motherfucking Strickland. Here's the fucking thing, you guys. If you put me in anything less than the S tier, you goddamn degenerates, I'm not going to war for you people. Sean Strickland, man, as good as he is, and honestly, I think his skill set overall is pretty underrated. I'm going to put him in the B tier, all right? B tier is good, all right? But listen, all right? I think that Sean Strickland, what he does well, he does very fucking well. Like, he's one of the best boxers and best strikers in the UFC, especially the middleweight division specifically. He has some of the best cardio as well in the UFC, and also his takedown defense in general and just defensive grappling, it's pretty fucking solid, man. Like, okay, it's hard to get Strickland down, but like maybe you'll be able to get him down a few times, but holding him down, that's the big problem that a lot of people have facing Strickland. And even like, look, he doesn't show off the offensive I'm sounding autistic here. The offensive wrestling, he doesn't show it off too much, but we've seen him, you know, when he wants to take it down to the ground, he easily can. Not easily, but you know what I'm saying? He has the abilities to, and we've seen that in a few of his past performances. So the reason I'm putting Strickland in the B tier and not higher, I do think the dude is very skilled defensively in the grappling. He's very sound, and he's able to hold a lot of guys off or just get back up very efficiently. And his striking and his cardio, it's fantastic. Even his fight IQ. The motherfucker seems like he's dumber than a boxer rocks, but actually, man, when it comes to fighting, he's like Goku in there, all right? Little bit of an air out on the outside, but when you put him in there, he's fucking doing all the calculations. He's a goddamn genius in there. You're goddamn right, I'm a goddamn genius in there. I think the biggest things that hold Strickland back is, I guess, you know, it is possible to kind of overwhelm him in the grappling department. And also, Strickland doesn't really have too much power behind his hands. Like, there's kind of a bit of holes in his game, but overall, what he does well, he does very, very well. So I think that the B tier is pretty fair. But moving on, up next here too, let's do Islam Makhachev, brother. So Islam, I don't know, I botched that impression. Islam Makhachev, we're gonna be putting him in the S tier. I can keep this one short and sweet, man. Like I said, I want to keep S tier sacred, but Islam Makhachev is so very worthy of being up there. There's a reason this guy is the pound for pound king of the UFC right now. He does everything so well. He's got great hands. He's got great kicks. He's good in the clinch. He's obviously, we all know how good his wrestling is. He's just so fucking strong, not only on the feet, but also just on the ground, man. Like, he's just probably about as well-rounded as it gets. I feel like he's kind of setting the bar up there for S tier. I mean, he has the cardio, he has the fight IQ, he has the wrestling, he has the stand-up skills, you know. He has great submission entries. Like, just in general, Islam Makhachev, there's a reason why the dude is pound for pound number one. Definitely deserves to be up there in S tier. He's almost as well-rounded as it fucking gets. So it's going to be a really hard time to see anyone that's going to beat him, you know what I mean? So to be able to beat a guy like Makhachev, you kind of got to be able to do a bit of everything to like match that, you know what I mean? Because he's so well-rounded and good at everything. That's why the Saryukian fight was so intriguing before it went fucking shut-eye. So yeah, Islam Makhachev gonna be one of the first people we put in S tier. Moving on, up next though, to the man he fucking subbed in 2 rounds. That still hurts to say, bro. Charles Oliveira, man. I'm gonna be putting Oliveira in the A tier. I don't think he's probably like as elite to be up in S, but dude, Charles Oliveira, he does everything well. Like, he's so very well-rounded, and the improvements he's made in his game over the past few years have been nothing short of fucking amazing to see. Like, the strike striking is just completely developed. And not only that, dude, he has power behind his hands as well. Obviously, the ground game speaks for itself. He's one of the most elite submission artists that the UFC's ever seen. Like, if Oliveira's taking you to the ground, or you're just on the ground, Oliveira, 9 times out of 10, unless you're like a Makhachev or maybe even like a Saryukin, you're fucked down there. You know what I mean? It's a testament to how good Oliveira is on the ground. The most submission wins in UFC history. And just in general, he's fucking dangerous down there. The fact that he's evolved his striking so much and really developed the pop and the power up there. You know, we also have seen a lot of improved cardio. Like, he literally just, I know Chandler's not a cardio machine, but to be able to be so patient and technical and just over fucking whelm him in all regards and just piece him apart for, 4 rounds, like, it's a spectacular thing to do, man. Charles Oliveira has insane finishing ability as well. He's constantly hunting for it, and that's what makes him so amazing as well, man. He could do everything great all around, but also, like, he's hunting for the finish on the feet and on the ground. So he can knock you out or submit you in the first round, but he could also just take you to a war over 5 and just piece you apart. So yeah, Charles Oliveira, I'm going to be saving S for a little more coveted, but Charles Oliveira, it's almost as good as he gets, man. Just very well-rounded fighter. So moving on up next. Okay, I didn't even do this shit on purpose, but Michael Chandler, speaking of him, see you at the top, but the top is the goddamn bottom, it looks like, because we're going to be putting Michael Chandler. This is a good kind of first entry to put in the seat here, okay? Chandler has solid striking, great power. Obviously, it's more good striking than bad, okay? I'm not trying to shit on Chandler here, but he's got solid striking. He's got good power. Fight IQ is just completely out the goddamn window. And then the wrestling's solid as well. But the thing is, like, that's what the C tier is for. Like, they could do everything, but just none of it's really great. Like, Chandler is very, very beatable. He gets rocked, he gets caught, he gets submitted, he gets finished on the feet. Like, I think that Chandler, the striking obviously is the most dangerous part of his game, but I don't even think it's because he's the most precise or the most insane volume striker, or he knows how to just put forward an amazing pace and pressure. Granted, he does put forward and intense pressure on guys and sets a heavy pace, but it's like he doesn't do anything super efficiently or well. You know what I mean? I think that's why he's very, very beatable. Like, I think Chandler loses to most of the top 15, and I'm not talking about just top 10 or top 5, like the elite names, baby. Like, I'm talking about just most of the guys in the rankings have the ability to beat Chandler because the holes in his game kind of overshine the things that actually make him good. You know what I mean? So Chandler, he's a solid fighter. He's a good name to have on the resume, but there's nothing that he really does fantastic. He kind of relies a little bit too much on the absolute fury and aggressiveness, the relentlessness he brings into guys, and like kind of relies a lot on the power and the stand-up. Again, his wrestling is solid. His cardio is solid. Like, he's a good fighter, man, but it's just, he doesn't do anything spectacular, and he is very, very beatable. But, he can mix it up. He knows how to kind of do it all. So I feel like C tier is pretty fair for fucking Michael Chandler here. So moving on up next to Belal Muhammad. Hey, I'm the real champ. You better be putting me in the S tier. I'm above Khabib. I'm above Islam. I'm above all these guys. I'm the real champ. Belal Muhammad, listen, I might get heat for this one, all right, because some people are going to have this dude all the way up at A. Some people obviously are going to have him in fucking D or F. I'm going to put Belal Muhammad in B, okay? I think that Belal Muhammad's skill set's very underrated. I do think that, this dude, I'm not saying this to say it. I was saying he could beat Shavkat before Shavkat actually fought Ian Gary, okay? Belal Muhammad's skill set is underrated, and you can tell that the dude loves to fight, loves to kind of at least try to be active when he's not hurt, or people aren't wanting to fight him, or he's waiting for title shots. Like, Belal Muhammad, he's good in there, and over the past few years, not only has the win streak been so impressive, we've been seeing a lot of improvements in his game. Before, kind of like a smudge, kind of drown you down there. I don't know why I fucking worded it like that, but like, he was good at overwhelming guys in the wrestling department, but that was kind of it, kind of like a one-trick pony a little bit. But over the past few years, man, we've seen the cardio just improve. We've seen the striking improve a lot. Even then, like, he rocked Leon Edwards, and I know it's a fucking, like, it's embarrassing for Brady, and it's fun for us to make fun of it, but he's standing TKO'd Sean Brady, who in his own right, granted, he's on this list and like wants to keep all his fights on the ground, but like, when Belal's knocking you out, man, let's give some credit to Belal. You know what I mean? Granted, like a standing TKO, but like, all right, he's a bit of a pitter-patter puncher, so we gotta fucking take what we can get. But just the fact that Belal has made such improvements in his striking, has been developing a little bit more pop behind his shots, and he's great at putting out a high output on guys, and he's great at putting on volume, you know what I mean? Even with a broken arm, if you're just piecing apart Gilbert Burns for 5 rounds, like, there's something to be said there. Like, obviously, I feel like the striking is kind of the weakest point of his game, but the fact that he's holding his own on the feet against a guy like Leon Mumble-Mouth fucking Edwards. Hey, Belal, bruv, I'm gonna knock you out in the first round, yeah, headshot dead. And Belal's fucking rocking him and outstriking him and just moving the fuck forward and was mixing it up very well. And then obviously when it got to the ground, most of the time he just dominated him down there. And that's what Bilal does so well. He has fantastic cardio and wrestling, and he uses it so efficiently. But also, man, we've seen it against guys like Leon, Gilbert Burns, Sean Brady, and many more. Like, we've seen the striking develop from Bilal Muhammad. So while I think I'm not going to put him as high as S or A, because I do think his clearest path to victory is just overwhelming guys in the wrestling department and just completely drowning him on there, putting forward a really high pace, and he's able to just dominate you there on the ground. But like now that the striking's been developing and we've seen just more like weapons he's adding into his arsenal, I feel like B is pretty fair. I think Bilal overall is pretty underrated. So moving on, up next to Marvin motherfucking Vettori. So welcome to the C tier, buddy. You're making Chandler not so goddamn lonely. So Marvin Vettori, I mean, I don't have much to say here. Solid striking, solid wrestling, solid cardio, a fantastic chin. That's just completely there. He has one of the best chins in the UFC. That's the thing. But like, dude, there's nothing he does great. Like the fact that he was getting a title shot, dude, it's pretty insane to look at in retrospect. You know what I mean? Because Marvin Vettori, he's a good fighter. You know what I mean? He's worthy of being in the rankings, but the fact that he was top 5 at one point is pretty wild. There's nothing in his game that he does fantastic. You can go as far as to say he's kind of just mid comparatively when you're comparing him to other guys in the rankings. I don't know. There's nothing spectacular or fantastic that sticks out in Marvin's game. I feel like the C tier is pretty fair. Solid fighter, can do a little bit of everything, kind of just whips out all the tools in the arsenal, but there's nothing he does great. So, like, dude, when you're taking Roman Dolidze to a life and death decision and then people are claiming robbery after you win against Roman Dolidze, like, there's something to be said there. You know what I mean? So it is what it is. Moving on, up next to Sergey Pavlovich. All right, dude. Our first F tier here. All right, this explains itself. What else does Sergey Pavlovich have in his game other than the striking and other than the power? All right, that's all it is. Like, I think that Sergey, he's a fantastic power puncher. Obviously, he's coming off a pretty lackluster win over Rosenstruck, but like, I get it. I really do. Like, he kind of just wanted to get back in the win column. It is what it is. Was one of the kind of just one of the most boring fights I've ever seen, kind of especially for heavyweight. But you know what, dude? It is what it is. Sergey Pavlovich, he still is skilled. He does have good striking and good power, but like, we're not determining how good these guys' skill sets are. We're talking about how well-rounded they are. And when it comes to that, like Pavlovich, he really kind of just relies on that. That's his clear path to victory there. He's not going to try and take fights to the ground. He doesn't have the most wild takedown defense we've ever fucking seen. He doesn't have insane cardio or fight IQ, submission ability, all that kind of shit. Like, he wants to stand and he wants to bang. And if you're Rosenstruck, he kind of wants to just kind of coast and float. It is what it is, bro. So Sergey Pavlovich, he's an amazing striker. He's got scary as fuck power. But yeah, he's staying in the F tier, man. So moving on, up next here to Sean Brady. I'm not going to put him in F. All right, I'm not going to put him in F, but I am going to put him in D. Listen, Sean Brady is one of the best grapplers in the welterweight division. Or I would even just say in the UFC. He's fantastic in the grappling department, you know what I mean? But listen, dude, overall, he just completely relies on that. His stand-up is mid. His cardio isn't blowing guys out of the water. He doesn't have insane fight IQ. And like, even then, like, this, he isn't really racking up a lot of submissions. Like, he does kind of smudge sometimes. You know what I mean? He doesn't have wild finishing ability. Like Sean Brady, there's a clear path to victory he has. It's in the grappling department. I'm not going to put him in F because he could hold his own enough in other departments to kind of take him far. Like, Sean Brady, he is good, man. But like, if he's not grappling you, dude, the fight's over. You know what I mean? Like, if you're able to overwhelm him on the ground, he's gonna have nothing for you, basically. At least that's my opinion. So what he does well, it's fantastic, but in terms of being well-rounded, I'm gonna put him in the D tier here. So moving on, up next to Yuri Prochazka. S tier, A tier, let's go for that. I'm gonna be putting Yuri Prochazka in the B tier because listen, Yuri, I think B tier is good, bro. All right, like, Yuri knows how to mix it up well. Obviously, he's gonna want to keep most of his fights on the feet. Obviously has great Muay Thai and just great striking in general. Has a lot of power behind those hands. And just Yuri's resume, man, like, I know we're talking about just skills here, but Yuri has a pretty underrated resume. I think it's now we're starting to really see it shine because now he's having more and more fights in the UFC. When he showed up in the company, dude, they just threw him to the top dogs immediately. And with good reason, but like Yuri Prochazka, man, he has all the skills to seriously beat a guy like Magomed Ankalaev. Or even it's just insane to me how Pereira beat him twice as efficiently as he did, dude. Like, I understand that both were kind of on, like, well, at least the second time was on like the shortest notice, but that was for both guys. Like, it just goes to show how good Pereira is because Prochazka, man, he's the second best guy in the division in my opinion. Like, I really think this guy has a really fucking good chance of beating Ankalaev if they ever fought. Who Ankalaev, like, I'd probably put him higher in the well-rounded side of things, but Prochazka, man, like I said, wants to keep all of his fights on the feet. He wants to stand and he wants to bang. He's one of the most entertaining fighters we have in the UFC right now. And the finishing ability is fucking insane, dude. If you're watching a Yuri Prochazka fight, it's either going to be an absolute banger or it's going to end in a wild finish or both. Most of the time, it's both. The Rakic fight, the Jamal Hill fight, the Glover Teixeira fight, like, and a bunch more. So why I don't have him in like an S or an A is because, listen, he knows how to hold his own defensively in the grappling department. He knows how to even shoot his takedowns. He's comfortable with taking the fight to the ground, but I just don't think he's like fantastic enough down there to where I'm going to put him next to a guy like Islam Makhachev or Charles Oliveira, because I feel like they're a lot more well kind of balanced, whereas Yuri kind of is relying a bit more on, you know, standing and banging, like I keep been repeating. So Yuri, man, solidly well-rounded. He could do a little bit of everything. Again, that's why I think he's dangerous for a guy like Ankalaev, who also can. But yeah, I'm going to be going Yuri Prochazka in the B tier. Nothing wrong with the B tier, y'all. There's nothing wrong with the B tier. It's good. It's good, but hopefully I'm making sense there. So moving on up next to Merab Dvalishvili. Hey, Dana, don't put me in the D tier, please. I will rematch Sean O'Malley. We could do quadrilogy. Please don't put me in the D tier. I'm going to be putting Merab Dvalishvili in the D tier here. What he does well, he does absolutely pretty much almost better than anybody else. Like, to be able to, he makes their cardio look embarrassing comparatively to other guys. His cardio is just something we've never fucking seen before. It's an infinite gas tank. He's just having fucking fun in there. Merab's cardio is fantastic, and also his wrestling. It's great wrestling, man. When you're overwhelming Umar, I wouldn't say overwhelming Umar in the wrestling department, but like when he's the one getting a majority of the takedowns, when he was efficiently stuffing a lot of Umar's shots, and Umar is a great wrestler. Merab, he's taken out strikers. Merab, he's taken out guys who are primarily grapplers. Merab's taken out a guy like Umar who is very well-rounded. This dude is the bantamweight GOAT. I truly believe that. But like, listen, his striking is not good. It's not great striking. We saw him trying to get a bit after it, you know, throw some strong rights against Umar, you know, kind of showed a little bit more tenacity on the feet. But man, at the end of the day, it's really nothing crazy. So Merab has a clear path to victory. He wants to overwhelm you in the cardio and wrestling departments. But if he's not doing that, if it's just a battle of on the feet or just kind of other things, I feel like he kind of comes up short. So again, a fantastic champ, man. He's the bantamweight GOAT, but like, he has a clear path to victory, and it's going to be his way or the fucking highway. So yeah, I'm going to be putting Merab in the D tier. I will say it is very impressive how he does kind of handle strikers. I mean, he's fought a fucking lot. He just completely drowns them in there. But again, it's with his style. He's not like actually overvaluing them on the feet. He's not throwing higher output. He's not landing big power shots. If Merab had just a little bit more, or just, I guess, a lot more power behind his hands, even if he does have sloppy striking, I feel like that'd be different. But he does have pillow hands. And again, it's just not good striking in general. But Merab, bantamweight GOAT, but he's going to be going in D tier here. So moving on up next to Joaquin Buckley. Holy fuck, there's still a lot of names. Joaquin Buckley, I'm going to be putting in the A tier, man. He's got good power behind his shots. He's got good pop behind the shots. He's just a great striker, and on top of that, he knows how to mix it up well, man. He has good wrestling, defensively and offensively. Like, I think that Buckley, it's going to be really interesting to see him now start to face these top 5 matchups, because, dude, this guy has a really good chance, and I mean this, for as much as I believe in the talents of Bilal or JDM, and I think guys like Shavkat are a bit overrated and shit like that, like, I think that there's a good chance, and I mean this, what are the bet odds on DraftKings of Buckley being champ by the end of 2025? It's got to be something high. I might have to put some money on that, because I really can't see Buckley becoming champ by the end of this year. I think what he does well is kind of a bit of everything, man. Like, he can go the distance, but he also has fantastic finishing ability. Like, and once that third round kicks in, you could tell there's a switch that just goes off and he really starts to pick it up and is just hunting for the finish. So overall, Buckley kind of does everything pretty well. So I feel like I'm going to stand my base here. Stand your base. Stand your fucking base. And I'm going to put him in the A tier. So moving on up next to another one I'm going to be putting in the A tier here. Big Ank. Now listen, I'm a guy, I made a whole fucking video about it. I do think that Pereira is going to knock him out. I think that Pereira is going to beat him when they fight, but clearly there are so many more weapons in the arsenal for a guy like Ankalaev. Like, people forget, man, but the fact that people think he's such a high level grappler, he is, but the fact that people think he's a primarily grappling based style, people forget, man. But But the dude's mostly a striker. He likes to stand and keep the fight on the feet, and he has good striking, has pop behind his shots. But the thing is that makes him so special, especially for light heavyweight standards, a division that is, I feel like more than any, even counting like a heavyweight division, like it lacks wrestlers. It lacks guys who want to take the fight to the ground or can hold their own on the ground. And Ankalaev, man, just fucking shines like a superstar in there comparatively, because his wrestling is really fucking good. Now listen, I do think as well for his finishing ability, it's really underrated. Like, I understand that this guy's last couple letters of his names end in like that OF, but still, like, the dude knows how to get the fuck after it. It's not like he's the most amazing striker, the most amazing wrestler, has the most amazing cardio, fight IQ, whatever you want to say, that we've ever seen, but he does everything well. Like, he's got good striking, got good wrestling, knows how to mix it up. He can go 5 rounds, but he's also hunting for the finish sometimes, so he's a dangerous guy to fight. He can do a little bit of everything, so yeah, I feel like the A tier is pretty fair. Moving on, up next to Michael Venom Page. So MVP, I'm going to be putting him in the D tier. He's coming off of a fantastic fucking win over Sarah Bullet, but like, come on, dude. If Ian Gary is out grappling you and out wrestling you, and listen, I think Ian Gary has very underrated defensive grappling. I think he really showed that in the fight against Shavkat, and like Ian Gary, he's solid in the clinch. But listen, dude, like there's a clear way of beating Michael Venom Page, all right? If there's any weakness in MVP's game, clearly it's going to be the wrestling, because when it comes to the striking alone, there's almost nobody that does it better than him. So he's got amazing striking, he's got amazing distance management, he's got a fantastic footwork and head movement, and the speed as well. It's fucking insane that he's like 37 or 38. Like, the dude is quick in there. So MVP striking is so bizarre, so fantastic. Like, he does it great. But like, I'm putting him in the D tier because he's more on the one-dimensional side of things than someone I would say is like well-rounded. You know what I mean? So moving on, up next here to Petr Yan. So doesn't have a strap on him right now, but dude, I'm gonna be putting him in the S tier. Like, Petr Yan, man, there's nothing he does poorly in this game. Like, oh, he got out-wrestled by Merab, dude. He can't hold shit. Merab's a bantamweight go, and his wrestling is fucking fantastic. And when he mixes in with the cardio and he's able to just shooting for his life in there, he can just fucking go with infinite tank. Even a guy like Petr Yan, who is good on the ground defensively and offensively, like, even he's gonna get taken down a lot because it's just, you're dealing with Merab, man. He's a motherfucker in there. But Petr Yan, dude, the fact that this guy is primarily a striker, but he's so sound on the ground, like, it's fantastic, man. It's nothing short of just wild seeing the fact that he could do everything and everything efficiently. Like, he's got good cardio, he's got good fight IQ. He's literally one of the best strikers pound for pound in the UFC, and I fucking mean that. Is he the biggest power puncher in the world? No, but the precision, the volume, the technique. The dude just has incredible striking, man, but he knows how to mix it up, and he does everything else very efficiently. So I'm gonna be putting him in the S tier. I feel like he deserves to be up there. I think that Petr Yan's skill set, people forget, man. I think it's very underrated. So moving on, up next here to Max Holloway. It is what it is, brother. We'll find out Saturday night. We'll find out October 26th. I'm going to be putting Holloway in the B tier, okay? Kind of similar to a guy like Strickland, who I also have in the B tier. Like, Max Holloway has great cardio. He has one of the best resumes in the UFC. He's like a top 10 or 15 fighter of all fucking time. Well, I know we're not talking about resume. We're talking about skills. He has fantastic cardio. He has fantastic striking. Again, for one of the best boxers in the UFC, and especially in his division. Well, now he's moving up to lightweight, I guess. But even then up there, man, like, still, when you're fucking piecing up a guy like Justin Gaethje like that and then knocking him out, and Gaethje's one of the best strikers there is, especially for lightweight, I mean, it says a lot, dude. And now that Holloway is developing power behind the shots, a little bit more pop behind the shots, he's kind of straying away a bit from the fucking pillow hands allegations. It's going to do nothing but help him. And again, the dude does have solid takedown defense, but I'm not going to really call Max Holloway the most well-rounded fighter that there is. He could do everything solid, man, but it's like he wants to stand and bang. He's one of the most amazing volume strikers we've ever seen. He knows how to just drown you on the feet, overwhelm you in there, pick and choose all the goddamn right shots. And again, now that he's developing power, it makes it even better. But again, this is a well-rounded tier list, and for as good as Holloway is, I think, again, one of the best top or 10, 15 fighters of all time, he has a clear path to victory. He's going to want to stand and bang. Again, the defensive grappling is good, but like, there's a clear way he wants to win, and he gets most of his fights done that way. So yeah, I'm putting Holloway in the B tier. So moving on, up next to, again, I didn't do this shit on purpose, but the guy that knocked him out, that's still wild to say, Ilia Topuria, mate. Topuria, I'm putting in the S tier. I mean, pound for pound, this guy has some of the craziest fucking power that we've ever seen. And for featherweight, listen, I mean, we haven't seen power like that since Conor McGregor, who also was just shaking up the world at the time and was just knocking out motherfuckers left and right. I don't even want to talk about Conor. It actually just, dude, I don't know about you guys. Whenever you just talk about Conor, do you just feel like this wave of sadness kind of come over you, or just disappointment? One of the two. It's fucking heartbreaking, bro. Like, Topuria is what he could have been. But again, he wants to retire by 30 as well. But okay, let's just talk about the skill set itself, right? Ilia Topuria, pound for pound, is one of the hardest hitters in the UFC. Arguably, you could say he is the hardest hitter in the UFC. I think that's a fair argument. His boxing is so crisp. He's so precise with it. He knows how to... He can overwhelm you with the volume. Look at the Josh Emmett fight. He just completely put forward a heavy pace and pressure and just drowned a guy like Emmett who wants to stand and bang with you. Shout out to Emmett for taking those fucking shots and hold up his good chin. Let's run it back with Bryce Mitchell, all right? I think Bryce Mitchell needs a fucking rematch with Emmett, but I'm gonna sound like Joe Rogan here, but people don't just do that, man. To Josh Emmett, man, you gotta be something special. This kid's wild. Topuria, listen, we talk about how great his striking is, and it's fucking fantastic, but he came into the UFC primarily as a grappler. He came in as a fucking submission artist, and he was taking out guys left and right. He has fantastic abilities on the ground. Like, he knows how to mix it up very well. To see him just develop and more so into a striker now, like, and you just know that he has the wrestling and the grappling in his back pocket, like, just to be able to use it anytime. We saw it against Holloway. Holloway got up pretty efficiently and pretty quick, but like at the end of the day, Topuria was taking him down a couple times in the first damn round. So he knows how to mix it up well. If he wants to take fights to the ground, he can, and there's a good chance he'll be able to submit you. But if you want to dare and stand and bang with them, what the fuck is this goosebumps shit I'm talking about? But if you want to dare and fucking stand and bang with the guy, you're probably going to be getting knocked out, you know what I mean? He's out here making a fight and a rematch with Volk sound not competitive at all, when literally Volk, in my opinion, beats the entire rest of the featherweight division, even like a Diego Lopez. And for Topuria to just be that ahead right now, and I know that, you know, people are getting a little bit more excited about the rematch as it's getting closer and closer, and Volk does have a good chance of winning. I really do believe that. Oh, you know, I'm that type of guy. We gotta have the greatest UFC comeback in history, brother. But I really do think that, like, if Topuria is making it sound not close against a guy who's well-rounded and amazing and is the fucking featherweight GOAT like Volkanovski, it just goes to show how much Topuria has to offer. And the dude is just, he's a great guy to have as champion, man. I want to see Volk beat him. I really fucking do, but at least he knows how to talk his shit. He knows how to get you excited for the fights. Again, he's got that evil fucking swagger to him. You want to see him lose, but you know he's going to go and whoop a bunch of people. Yeah, Topuria, he's fantastic. I'm going to put him up there in S. So moving on up next to Khamzat Chimaev. I coming to kill everybody, brother. I humble father right now, but when I step in cage, I coming to kill everybody. Khamzat Chimaev, man, I'm gonna put him in the A tier. Like, the dude had, I mean, when he came into the UFC, we knew how good his grappling was, but I feel like he was a lot more, I don't want to say comfortable, but like open to keeping his fights on the feet, kind of standing and banging, you know, and he was getting solid knockouts, and even against Gilbert Burns took him to war, but like, he was holding his own on the feet, landing good shots, and Khamzat does have power behind his hands. He needs cushion and foundation like that, though, because his grappling is some of the best the UFC has ever seen, and has right now overall, man. Like, to be able to do that to Usman and just fucking kind of ragdoll him in those first couple of rounds in the wrestling, like, you don't do that to Usman, bro. And like, to take out Whitaker like that in the first round or half a round, whatever it was, people forget, man, but you can't just fucking do that shit. So Khamzat Chimaev's grappling, it's fantastic, and thankfully his striking is good enough, and he has enough pop behind his shots up there to where I'd say he deserves to be in the A tier. I guess the only things that really kind of concern me about Khamzat Chimaev is like the cardio, but even then, like, we haven't seen anyone yet be able to take him that far besides Burns, or I guess Usman, to really, but even then they lose. They lost both of those times. That's the fucking thing. So I could see Chimaev's cardio maybe being his downfall, like when she kind of finally put him in like a full-fledged 5-rounder. That's why, part of why I think DDP will beat him. But yeah, Khamzat Chimaev, man, very fucking good. Definitely deserves to be in the A tier. Definitely wants to take all of his fights to the ground, but again, he's efficient everywhere else, so he's able to hold his own. Moving on, up next to Movsar Evloev. You're going in the D tier, buddy. All right, you're going in the D tier. I'm sorry. Listen, his grappling is very good. His striking is underrated, but the dude has no finishing ability, and I feel like it holds him back. Like, I don't need you to go and get all your fucking performances done via finish. I don't even need half, bro, all right? Is it better for entertainment? Yeah. Will it make people really like you a bit more? Yeah. I don't need that shit, though, all right? These are the best of the best in the world, fighting the other best of the best of the world, whatever. You gotta do what you gotta do to get it fucking done. but it really does hold Evloev back because there's no pop behind the shots. It makes people completely overlook his striking. Even though defensively on the feet, he's actually pretty underrated, and just he's solid up there as well. The way he beat Sterling, because Sterling was getting the better of him on the ground, was throughout the striking. Now granted, I know Sterling's a fucking goofball on the feet, but you know what I'm saying? Like, Evloev, man, his wrestling's good, but that's his clear path to victory. Like, he's not a striker by any means. He's solid enough to hold his own up there. Like I said, it's underrated, but I'm putting him in D and not like a C or a B or whatever, because he has a clear path to victory. He wants to drown you on the ground. He wants to kind of outsmudge you. He wants to pick you up, put you down, and fucking hold you down there for as long as he can and just win out the rounds. I like that in his past few fights, he's been trying to get after it a bit more, trying to make it a little more entertaining. But even then, we're not seeing anything fucking wonderful here. So yeah, I'm going to be putting Evloev in the D tier. I do think Evloev's good. I'd probably say I think that a guy like Lopez or Topuria or Volk beats him. But other than that, like, he's got a good chance of being all the guys I just named. So yeah, I think Evloev, you know, I'd probably say he's more one-dimensional than well-rounded, but he could do everything. I don't know, man. I'm going to put him in the D tier. My whole point is he relies on his main path to victory just being to kind of out-drown you and out-smudge you in there in the ground. So moving on up next to Paddy, the fucking Paddy lad. I'm going to be putting Pimblett in the B tier. I think that Pimblett's underrated, man. One of the best picks I fucking had last year was picking him to beat Bobby Green. It was wild how y'all were talking about Pimblett, all right? It was wild, dude. Y'all just act like he couldn't fucking fight because he dances around like a goofy fucking gooba. And Jared Gordon fucking beat him. But it's like, dude, like, people feel like he can fight. I'm putting him in the B tier because, yeah, his strongest asset is going to be the grappling. But I think that his striking and cardio, fight IQ, you know, everything else, like, it's good enough to where I think that B tier is pretty fair. Like, Paddy has great ground game. It's fucking dangerous. It's going to present a lot of guys problems. But again, I think that his striking is solid enough to where I feel like B tier is pretty fair. So not the most well-rounded fighter, the craziest talent that we've ever seen. And again, he's young. And again, he hasn't been the most active fighter in the world lately. And now he's finally getting to fight like ranked guys. So we're going to find out a lot about Paddy Pimblett and his skill set in the next couple of years. But as of right now, man, I think the dude has a pretty solid foundation and a pretty solid base. He can hold his own kind of everywhere efficiently enough to be able to beat a lot of guys, I feel like, and eventually take it to the ground and take them out of there. So, yeah, I feel like B tier is pretty fair. That might get a bunch of shit, but it is what it is. Moving on to Dricus du Plessis. DDP, I'm going to put him in the A tier. I mean, the thing is, I don't have much to say here because the guy, like the drunk man, goofy ass style, like you literally got to wear drunk goggles to be able to see the fight. Normally, dude, I think that even then, it doesn't make any sense how he wins. It doesn't make any goddamn sense when you look at a DDP fight. It's wild that he's as efficient as he is, but keep that word in mind, efficient. He can do everything. Like, he has good wrestling, he has good takedown entry, but he also has good power on the feet. He has good striking, but it's wild even saying this shit because it all looks so sloppy and all that kind of shit. But dude, it comes back to efficiency. It's very efficient. Dricus du Plessis isn't the hardest hitting striker we've ever seen. He doesn't have the most dominant wrestler we've ever seen. He doesn't have crazy speed. If anything, like, he's not that quick in there. But dude, he does everything so efficiently and so well. That's why I got to put him in the A tier, because he does a little bit of everything. He knows how to balance it really well. We saw him taking down Robert Whittaker. We saw him being the first guy to ever submit Adesanya in the UFC. We saw him, you know, say whatever the fuck you want about the Sean Strickland fight, but he was able to really get Strickland down quite a decent number of times. Granted, he didn't do too much with it, but the fact that you're getting Strickland down like that is impressive in its own right. DDP, his finishing ability and the way that he's always looking to hunt for the finish, it's why he's one of my favorite fighters on the roster right now. It really is. Like, the dude, I like his smart ass, devious ass behavior outside of the cage. He knows how to talk his shit. He literally made 2 former UFC champions fucking cry, brother. One on the pod and one in a goddamn press conference. So the dude's a fucking bully in there, but it's just fucking funny to see. And then when he gets in the actual cage, he's like a fucking lion and he's fucking hunting in there, dude. Always looking for the finish, knows how to get it done on the feet and on the ground. So, and I know that people used to talk about the cardio and all that bullshit, but like, someone's still got to beat him to this day, man, all right? Like, Strickland's a cardio machine, all right? And he was able to beat him over 5 rounds. But then he's also taken out a guy like Whittaker within 1 round. So DDP could do it all, even though it looks goofy as fuck. Like, it really is efficient. And another thing too, he has really great fight IQ. Like, he has good game planning in there. So it's also part of why he knows how to adjust so well to these guys' certain styles or whatever. So yeah, DDP, I'm going to be putting in the A tier. It's kind of funny that he's right there next to Chimaev. Moving on up next to Chito Vera. I ain't got much to say here, man. I feel like this dude's a one-hit wonder here. I'm going to be putting Cheeto in the D tier. I've already talked about this a few times before on the channel. I feel like this guy's one of the most overrated fighters in the UFC. He has one of the best chins we've ever fucking seen, all right? And I'm going to give that to him. And his striking, it's good. He's got solid pop behind the shots. I think the biggest thing that holds him back is the fact that he's such a slow starter, but obviously as he builds into it, he gets better and better. But dude, he's so close to just being goddamn one-dimensional. His takedown defense is good, and he knows how to go 5 rounds, can just kind of hold his own in aspects that other people are going to be very dangerous to him in, but he relies so much on the chin, and he relies so much on kind of catching you with all the right shots in that 3rd, 4th, or 5th round. You know what I mean? Because if he doesn't have that, there's really not that much to Cheeto Vera, so that's why I'm going to be putting him in the D tier. So I apologize, but I also do not. So move on. That sounds smart as fuck up, or smart ass as fuck up, sorry. Moving on up next to Umar Nurmagomedov. I originally was gonna kind of put him in S, but dude, like, this guy could get fucked. I don't give a shit. I'm gonna put him in the A tier, man. Listen, I do think that Umar, he does everything well. There's a reason I'm putting him in A tier, but I'm not putting him in S because A, we gotta see him against more elite competition. I know he took Merab, the Bantamweight GOAT, to a close fight, and I know he fucking completely pieced up and just outskilled the guy like Corey Sandhagen all around, but I feel like I just want to see a little bit more exposure to him against kind of like top level guys and shit like that before I put him in like S. Like, I feel like I'm really praising the shit out of S, you know what I mean? So Umar, he's got great kicks, he's a dynamic striker, but he also has fantastic grappling. Like, what he does well is everything. Like, it's hard to tell. I mean, obviously the dude is primarily a striker, but like, when you're kind of asking people, like, some people really can't even fucking tell if he's a grappler or a striker or whatever, or a striker or whatever the fuck, because he does everything great. It's really hard to find holes in his game or weaknesses. People are even shitting on his cardio against Merab. Umar has good cardio, and he displayed that. You know, obviously, like, he was kind of gassing out a bit and dying out, but like, you're facing the guy who has some of the craziest and hard to believe cardio in UFC history, like Merab. So I don't think that goes to show anything against Umar. I know some people arguably thought Umar won that fight. I don't think so. I still had it 3-2 for Merab, but again, the fact that you're taking the Bantamweight GOAT to like that deep of waters and, you know, outlanding him on the feet, outstriking him, was just killing it with the kicks, and his wrestling is just as good. So Umar got a little bit of everything, and he does everything great. I'm going to be putting Umar in the A tier. I'm not putting him in S. He can go fuck himself. But moving on up next to, oh boy, I wish I just had some gray tier that said like 45-70 on it or some bullshit. Dude, I'm gonna put Kevin Holland in the C tier. I should put him in the I don't give a shit tier, bro, because the dude just doesn't give a fuck, man. Like, he could have all the skills he wants, he's not gonna goddamn use them. Listen, I'm putting Holland in the C tier because he's got solid grappling, he's got solid power, he's got solid finishing ability, he's got solid striking, solid cardio. But like, again, that's exactly what I'm kind of saying about a guy like Vettori. Like, there's nothing special that stands out in Kevin Holland's skill set. You know what I mean? He could do everything, yeah, but none of it's really that great. So Holland, I'm just going to be putting in the C tier. Moving on up next to John motherfucking Jones. So Jones, right. I don't like Jones. He's my least favorite fighter. I can't stand the dude. He literally disgusts me. I don't know him or want to wish anything evil upon him, but he can literally go fuck himself. He's a poor representation for the sport, blah, blah, blah. But he's the GOAT. He has an insane resume. His striking isn't as good as like his fight IQ or his cardio or his wrestling, but like, it's solid enough to where he can hold his own against a lot of guys. He's the GOAT. I'm putting him in the S tier. He's got great wrestling, fight IQ, striking solid enough to hold his own. He does a fantastic chin. I'm done. I don't want to talk about this. John Jones is going in the S tier. Yeah, right. Moving on up next to Derek Lewis on the complete fucking opposite end of the spectrum. I'm putting him in the F tier. He's kind of a one-hit wonder here. What he does well, he does fantastic. Like, he has some of the greatest finishing ability in the UFC. He has fantastic power. His striking is good. But he's one-dimensional. Like, when you're fighting Derek Lewis, we all know there's a clear path to victory there and a clear thing to avoid in his game. So, Derek Lewis, fantastic striker, great power, great finisher, funny as fuck personality, but I'm sorry, brother, I'm gonna put him in the F tier. Send him Dagestan 2-3 years and forget. Well, he'll be fucking like 85 by that point. But moving on up next to Shavkat Rakhmonov. Dude, I'm so tempted to put this motherfucker in the B tier because I really do think that he's very overhyped or just overrated in general. But listen, I'm gonna put him in the A tier because when I'm thinking about this and when I'm making this video, like, I can't really think of any big weaknesses in his game. Like, he's got good striking. striking. He's very good in the clinch. He's got good wrestling. He's got good cardio, but he also has very great finishing ability. Like, I think a guy like Bilal beats him. I think like a guy like JDM has a very good shot of beating him. I think a guy like Joaquin Buckley could beat him. I mean this. But at the end of the day, Shavkat's skills, I really can't deny them. They're clearly there. He does everything well. I don't think there's like, obviously he wants to stand and bang, but like he's good at he's good at getting the fight into the clinch and being efficient as fuck in there. And also his wrestling is just good. So his striking, I feel like, is like the key point of his game and kind of what shines the most. But I mean, really, he does everything just as well. I mean, he's very balanced. One of the most balanced fighters I feel like you can get. You know what I mean? So yeah, while I do think he's a bit overrated, I can't really deny him. So I'm gonna put him in the A tier. So moving on, up next to Alexander Volkanovski. I will not fucking forget, bro. All right, I'm putting this guy in the S tier, and I completely feel like it's fair to be up there. Obviously, he's on a bit of a decline right now, but the skills are there. Like I said earlier, I really do believe he beats the rest of the featherweight division, and he would still be champ if a guy like Topuria wasn't here. We're just kind of entering Topuria's era, and we're in a turning of the new age, the new generation. We're kind of seeing him with guys like Usman and Izzy and just many more. Like, it just seems like a father time thing, or just a coming of the new age, and talent is just getting a little deeper. But Volkanovski, man, he's as good as it gets. He's the fucking featherweight GOAT. His resume is fantastic. He has good striking. He's one of the best volume strikers we've seen, especially for featherweight. Like, he holds his own up there fantastically. He doesn't have a lot of power or pop behind his shots, but he's still able to get finishes once in a while, man. Volkanovski, he's not the biggest finisher in the world, but again, he's got good striking. Great at putting the volume on guys. Great at controlling the pace and the flow and the pressure of the fight. Like, he completely dictates where he wants it to go. If he wants to stand and bang with you, he'll do that. If he wants to take you down, he's gonna fucking take you down. If he wants to get up, most likely he's going to be able to get back up. We've seen that against like the Holloway trilogy. We've seen it in the first fight against Makhachev. We've seen him be able to hold his own on the ground against a guy like Ortega. Like, Volkanovski has good wrestling, good striking, good cardio, good fight IQ. There's nothing Volkanovski really does poorly. Yeah, it's possible to beat him, but I feel like you got to have power. If you're going to beat Volkanovski, you have to have devastating knockout power. If you don't have that, I think there's no one else that really beats him. So Volk, I love you, buddy. I feel like it's totally fair to still keep him up there in S. Moving on up next to Kamaru Usman. So here's the thing. Another one where a bit washed, I want to say. I shouldn't even say washed, but like he's on a decline. And so it might be tricky to put him and Volk up there in the S tier. But listen, like, I can't put Usman lower just because, like, I don't really know what clear holes there are in his game. Like, Usman's striking has developed so much ever since he won the title. Like, not only has there been a lot more pop behind the shots and power and just knockout finishing ability that we've seen ever since he started his title reign, which has ever since ended. I don't know what I'm talking about, like, he's still the champ, but you know what I'm saying? Like, over the past few years, there's been great improvements in the striking. His wrestling was always good. He was very efficient down there. He picked you the fuck up and put you the fuck down. Kamaru Usman was primarily a wrestler, but, like, he's completely just developed all around. He's very balanced, and like, again, like, look at the Khamzat Chimaev fight just alone as an example. Like, we saw fantastic takedown defense, and then he was able to just beat him up on the feet in that third round. Or I should just say it as defensive grappling, because obviously Chimaev was able to get him down pretty efficiently a few amount of times, but still, you know what I mean. There's no real clear weak point in Usman's game, which is why I'm going to put him in S. If you guys want to disagree with this one, I mean, dude, really, that's fair as fuck. But, like, there's no clear weakness in Usman's game. Yeah, he's beatable. You'd be able to outstrike him. Yeah, you could knock him out. Yeah, you could out-wrestle him. But, like, that doesn't mean that he's necessarily bad in those departments. He's fighting the elite of the elite. You know what I mean? So, Usman, I know he's getting a bit washed. I know he's not fucking fighting, and that's frustrating, blah, 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 but I'm going to stand by this. I'm going to put Usman in the S tier. I'm not going to disrespect here. Moving on, up next to Fluffy Hernandez. Jesus, bro, there's so many names. Oh my God, dude. Fluffy Hernandez, man. All right, so I'm going to be putting Anthony Hernandez in the A tier, in my opinion. If we're still going to count him as a prospect, I think I'm the biggest believer in him out of anyone probably right now, and just in terms of prospects in the UFC. Again, if we're still counting him there, I know he's kind of like, he's like 12 or 13 in the rankings right now, so I don't even know if we're still counting that. But Anthony Hernandez, man, he's fucking well-rounded, dude. Like, obviously more so of a grappler than anything else, but his striking and cardio and just other things in general, man, they're good enough to where I feel like it's fair to say he's a well-rounded dude. He has power on the feet, and he has just insane finishing ability on the feet or on the ground, so he's fucking dangerous in pretty much all regards. Obviously, he's going to want to take the fight to the ground if he can and kind of hunt for the submission down there, but he's good enough in other areas to where I feel like A is pretty fair, so I'm going to put him up there. Moving on, up next, and I'm sorry if this one kind of pisses people off, man, but I'm going to be putting Alex Pereira in the D tier. Like, listen, there's a clear fucking way to victory here for Alex Pereira. I think Pereira's very good, a top 10 fighter of all time. And when it comes to just a striking battle, almost nobody in the company, at middleweight or light heavyweight, is going to be able to beat him. But dude, there's such a clear way of beating the dude. Like, you gotta take him down. You gotta overwhelm him on the ground. His takedown defense is solid, but it's nothing fucking crazy. You know what I mean? We saw him use pretty efficient defensive wrestling against a guy like Jan Blachowicz. I'm sure it's gotten better in the meantime, but like, there's a reason why the odds are so close with Ankalaev versus Pereira. You know what I mean? If Ankalaev didn't have that good of wrestling, Pereira would be a minus fucking 300 or some shit. Not that Ankalaev, like I said earlier, Ankalaev's in the damn A tier. I think he has very good striking, but like, clearly, if it's just a battle on the feet, I feel like Pereira has the better precision, the better power, the better technique, just finds the right shots. What Pereira does well, he does almost better than anybody else, but I'd say he's closer to being one-dimensional than being well-rounded. So Pereira's fantastic, but I'm going to put him in the D tier. Moving on, up next to Tommy boy, Tom Aspinall, baby. Aspinall, listen, he's one of my favorite fighters in the entire roster. I think he's the best heavyweight in the world right now. I think he beats John Jones. But listen, dude, I can't put him in the S or the A tier. I think that Aspinall is solidly well-rounded, but why I'm not putting him in S or A is just because when it comes to like the cardio or the wrestling or jiu-jitsu, whatever the fuck, like just his ground abilities and just being able to go longer than like the third round, we have barely really seen any of it. What we have seen is fantastic. Like, to be able to submit Volkov in one round is nothing short of spectacular, but it's not like Volkov's guy who's a massive wrestler to begin with, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like Jones's wrestling was his best way of kind of beating Tom Aspinall. I think that Aspinall is good on the ground, but I'd say that he has a very clear main path to victory. He wants to keep it on the feet, he wants to get the fight in the pocket, he wants to close the distance, and he wants to just swing and bang. He has some of the most insane power we've ever seen, especially for heavyweight, and just the finishing ability in general is fucking insane on the feet and on the ground. I know that Aspinall has good ground game, you know what I mean? But just we haven't seen enough of it, or against certain enough or specific enough competition for me to put him in S or A. And also, he's never really been dragged to deep waters or really deeply tested. Like, we really have never seen him in the third round or beyond. So again, that's part of why it makes the John Jones fight so intriguing. A guy who could take him to the deep waters and a guy that does have very good wrestling. But yeah, man, like, I need to see a bit more out of Aspinall. He has insane boxing, precision. He's crisp up there, an amazing striker. He knows how to hold his own on the ground. That's why he's in B tier. B tier is good, bro. Still kind of that well-rounded category, but like, listen, like, he has a clear main path to victory, and he's going to want to stick to it. So, for as much as I appreciate Aspinall, he's one of my favorite fighters, I'm going to be putting him in the B tier. So, after a couple fights, though, you know, I could easily see it going up to like an S or an A. You know what I mean? So, moving on. And before you say, oh, what do you mean he's already finished half of the top 10 already, and he's already like the most undeniable best heavyweight in the world, you said it yourself. I agree with that, but like, I just think we need to see more down there to kind of show off more tools in the arsenal. You know what I'm saying? So, maybe I'm just fucking yapping. I don't know. Moving on, up next to Carlos Prats here. Carlos Prats. Listen, I'm going to put him in the F tier, along with the other two big boy strikers we got down there. Listen, he's got solid takedown defense. We saw that against Neil Magny. I just think that he has a clear path to victory, and that's knocking you out. He wants to stand and bang. He doesn't want to get in uncomfortable positions or aspects of the game that he's not super dominant with or not super familiar with. Carlos Prats has a clear path to victory. He's a fantastic striker, but I think that he's going to be exposed. Or, not that I think he's going to be exposed. I think he has a good chance of being exposed, especially as he kind of goes up and up the rankings. You know what I mean? So, great striker. Fantastic power. I like the dude's personality a lot. He's great for the division, but yeah, I'm going to put him in the F tier. He's a lot more one-dimensional than well-rounded. So, moving on to, who the fuck did we got last year? There we go. The Flyweight champion here. I'm going to put some respect on his name. I'm going to put some respect on Pantoja's name. I'm going to be putting him in the A tier here because I know obviously wants to take his fights to the ground, but dude, his striking has developed so much. Like, we've seen a lot of improvements lately. Pantoja in general has just completely been cleaning out the division, and he's beating guys like he's beating wrestlers, he's beating strikers, he's beating guys that know how to mix it up well. He knows how to take the fight to deep waters. He knows how to win, either if it's a razor close decision or just a decision in general. Like, he knows how to win. Very efficient with everything he does. The striking has been developing a lot. For flyweight standards especially, he has decent power behind those hands, and he utilizes utilizes it well. So Pantoja, good cardio, solid pop on his shots, good fight IQ, knows how to dictate the pressure and where just the fight goes in general. Pantoja does everything well. So I feel like A tier's pretty fair. I'm going to put respect on the champ. And don't be surprised, man. I know other people have been saying this lately too, but don't be surprised if this guy rises pound for pound more and more as we get to like the end of 2026. This guy could be top 3 if he keeps on just fucking winning as dominantly as he is or as efficiently as he is. So holy shit, I actually can take a breath right now. That's going to be it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. It's probably going to be a long one. But yeah, thank you guys so very much for making it this far in the video. I really appreciate it. Please help me get to 1,000 subscribers. It'd mean a lot. Just in general, the fact that y'all made it this far means a lot. I appreciate you guys. Let me know your opinions in the comments below. Please do. We're just here to talk some MMA. Let me know what you think of my picks. Let me know some fighters that you think are either the most well-rounded or the least well-rounded. Where was I right? Where was I wrong? What are your thoughts? Let me know. So, All the Smoke MMA, appreciate y'all a lot. Hey, please help me get to 1,000 subs. I'd really, really appreciate it. But just in general, just thank you so very much for watching. All the Smoke MMA here. Appreciate you guys. Hope you have a good one. We have fucking the card of the year, UFC 312 next weekend. Or this week. I don't know when I'm going to upload this. I'm recording this on Sunday right now. But yeah, thank you guys so very much. I'll see you all next time.